What's good, YouTube? It's your boy JayG Gaming, man. I have a new type of video for y'all. This is simming the careers of 5 #1 prospects in NCAA 25. I got this idea from the Notorious one, so shouts out to him. Our first recruit is Tamani Clinton. He's a 5'11", 181-pound receiving back. And at the end of the season, he ends up signing with Georgia UGA Bulldogs. So he's going to be with the Georgia Bulldogs, who are pretty much the #1 team in NCAA. So I guess that's going to work out for him. We're going to see how that goes. Real quick, just want to tell y'all I appreciate y'all for everything y'all do, man. Drop a like and subscribe if y'all can. And we're going to go on to see who our #2 recruit is. Well, our second recruit, who's also #1. Kobe Helm, who's a strong safety out of Cincinnati, Ohio. He's the #1 recruit that we're going to follow next. 6'2", 217-pound run support. He looks pretty good at his stats. 64 man coverage, 90 speed, 80 play rec, 79 tackle, 89 acceleration, 84 hit power. He looks like a dog. He has road dog and team player as his mentals. Team player at the highest level it can be. So I'm really excited to see what he can do. Looking at Tamani Clinton, right now he's a 77 overall, safety valve, sidekick, and recoup. He's above 3 guys right now who are still pretty young. So we're gonna see how that goes for him. He is on UGA, so that's not really anything new. At the beginning of every year, I end up scheduling the #1 recruits team. Whoever the new #1 recruit is for that year, I schedule their team as our first game of the year of Tulane. I'm not controlling Tulane or anything, but I'm just trying to see everything. But as you can see, Tamani Clinton didn't really have a good outing, wasn't really productive in receiving or rushing, but it did look like he got some plays, so I guess that's a good thing. Going on to later in the year, we see that Kobe Helm ends up committing to Kentucky, which, I mean, Ohio is pretty close relatively to Kentucky, so I guess I can see how that works. At the end of the regular season, we see Tamani Clinton's numbers at 25 carries, 52 yards, and a touchdown. And that 1 touchdown is from the game that he played against my team, so I guess that's a coincidence. There is no UGA in the playoffs, which is kind of crazy, not gonna lie. Maybe it's because Tamani Clinton didn't perform, but anyways, he didn't make All-American freshman or SEC freshman team, so I guess that doesn't really work out anyways. He's a sophomore, so he did play in over 4 games to burn his red shirt. Here are some of his stats: 91 speed, 92 excel. He has some of the best juking on the whole entire team and some of the best hand in his room. 50 carries and 119 yards, 2 touchdowns is what he ended his rookie season with, his freshman season, I guess. DeMarco Farrell, right tackle, 6'7", 287-pound pass protector, is our next #1 recruit. He's out of Lake Butler, Florida. Looking at Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State right now. It looks like he's going to be a big dog, so I can't wait to see where he goes. Kobe Helm is now into the NCAA in college football. Pretty good stats. Ends up being a 78 overall. No physical badges yet, so it's going to be interesting to see what he does. And of course, halfbacks, I'm trying to look for Tamani Clinton, and it ends up being that he is cut from every single team in college football. I don't know if it's off the field issues. I don't know if he was, just not good enough for UGA, but he was nowhere to be found and he is cut. So there goes one of our recruits. So I guess we're back to square one, trying to look at just one of our recruits. But looking at his first game against us, 2 tackles, a pretty decent job, honestly, especially for a 78 overall. And they were both solo tackles, so not bad at all. At the end of the season, Kentucky does not make it to the CFP playoffs, but trying to look at this freshman All-American, and it turns out that Kobe Helm does make it as a freshman All-American and as well as a freshman All-SEC. Ends up having 30 solo tackles, 11 assisted tackles, totaling in 41, 2 deflections, a forced fumble, and 2 fumble recoveries. So as a true freshman, 6'2", 217-pound dog, yeah, that's pretty good. Looking at DeMarco Farrell, he turns out to be signed to Alabama. I think that's going to be a pretty good fit for him. Can't wait to have success there. Kobe Helm ends up being an 81 overall going into his sophomore year. Looks like he improved a little bit, not quite a lot. He did get a physical badge, house call. I'm pretty sure that just increases your stamina on picks. So I guess that's a good thing. But DeMarco Farrell ends up being a third string right tackle behind a redshirt sophomore and a redshirt senior. So I guess that's young, depends on how you want to look at it. But he does have some pretty good stats, so can't really take that away from him. He does have an 86 and like an 85 in front of him, so he has some guys to look up to. Our next number 1 recruit, Damon Long, a wide receiver out of Niceville, Florida, has some pretty good stats. 96 speed, he's blazing, 97 jumping, 89 spec catch with 50-50 ability. So that's definitely going to be a guy who's going to be a dog. I feel like 6'3", 218 pounds. Yo, that's huge coming out of high school. That's insane. Alabama versus Tulane. DeMarco Farrell looks like he gives up no sacks and no pancakes, but I'm pretty sure that's just because he didn't play. Heisman winner is Tank Hawkins with 84 catches and over 1,100 yards, 18 touchdowns. So he balled. Looking around for any freshmen, any Kobe Home or any DeMarco Farrell, looks like that none of them made it, even though Kobe Home ended up increasing pretty much all of his numbers. He ended up having 4 TFLs, another deflection, a forced fumble as well, but still not getting the job done to get any All-SEC or All-American honors. Trying to see DeMarco Farrell stats. It looks like he's giving up no sacks, but once you look at his games, he played 4 games and only played 16 downs in those 4 games. So he definitely got redshirted. Damon Long ended up signing to Miami, so that's going to be fun to watch. Kobe Helm ends up going up to an 83 overall from his previous 81. His house call ends up upgrading to a gold, while he also adds wrap-up badge to it. Marco Farrell ends up being a backup now in his redshirt freshman year, so looking to get that freshman All-American. He has PA Shield and Pocket Shield as his physical badges, so those increase as well. Our next guy, Quayshawn Cugbila. That's kind of the best way I can put it. He ends up being a gem, so that's going to be fun. Our first quarterback, 81 speed, 95 throw power, 88 short accuracy, 85 medium, 81 deep. He has step up as a ability, team player, and road dog as a mental badge, so that's going to be extremely entertaining. I'm trying to look at the depth chart for the Tulane and Miami game, and it looks like Damon Long is not here. That's a first. I honestly thought he got cut, but when I go to view roster and I go to Miami, he is down there. He is just so far down on the depth chart that he's not even going to be dressing out for games. But he's a 78 overall, and that's pretty much the best I can put it. He's going to get redshirted. That Washington quarterback had 44 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. That's crazy. But DeMarco Farrell, as a freshman, ends up getting freshman All-American honors. So, of course, that means he's going to get freshman All-Conference SEC honors as well. So that's a big plus to his resume. That means 2 of our guys got All-American and All-Conference freshman honors. That is always a plus. But looking at everybody else, we don't see anybody else like Kobe Home or Damon Long get any honors. Alabama ends up going pretty far in the CFP playoffs, losing to UNC. Kobe Helm's 3rd year pretty much goes down in everything. He did get 2 interceptions, which leads to me thinking that he played more of a pass coverage role than a run support role. And DeMarco Farrell's redshirt freshman year, he ends up playing extremely well, and actually way more than I thought he was going to play, especially being a backup, but they probably put him on the other side, which makes sense. Quayshawn is deciding between Ole Miss, Arkansas, and Texas Tech at the end of this season, so we'll just have to wait and see where he goes. And Kobe Helm ends up being one of the best players on the entire roster. He's, of course, the best safety on the team, being an 86 overall in his senior year, adding aftershock to his physical badges and a wrap up to a silver. Damon Long in his 2nd year upgrades to an 84, so that's definitely a plus. Hopefully he's going to get some playing time. But I mean, with 96 speed, 90 excel, 91 change of direction, and also 98 route running, short route running to be specific, can't really go wrong, man. DeMarco Farrell, he did go up to an 85 overall, but that 88 overall is still above him, but doesn't really matter. He was freshman All-American. But again, I'm looking for Quayshawn. Thought he was with Ole Miss, but I'm looking around and he ends up not signing with anybody. So I guess he's just done with football. You can see me just going through all the quarterbacks, trying to look for everybody. And this is after signing day, trying to go through all the freshmen. And Quayshawn is just not there, guys. So our gem of a quarterback, Quayshawn Cugbila, I guess who was his name. Yeah, man, he's no more. I guess he just didn't like it. So I'm going to make up for it and go with the #1 quarterback, even though he's not the #1 overall recruit. 93 throw power, 90 speed, 87 break sack, and 87 short accuracy. Magician on the highest end it can be, and some more badges like extender is going to be good. The first game of the following season, Kobe Helm, now being an 86 overall, goes off in his first game, having like 3 tackles that are solo and 4 total tackles. Heisman winner has a pretty decent season, and what I decided to do was follow the careers of the #1 overall recruit of this class, as well as the #1 quarterback of this class, to make it up for the 2 recruits that pretty much just whiffed. Roderick Finley ends up signing with Mississippi State, and looking at the end of season honors, Kobe Helm ends up getting first team All-American honors with the #4 seed Kentucky, which is insane. And it looks like nobody else got any other honors, but obviously he's going to get all conference first team as well. He's pretty much the best safety in the entire country. And looking at this, Miami, Mississippi State, who's getting Roderick Finley, USC, who's getting Bart Duggar, and Kentucky, who currently has Kobe Helm, and Alabama, who currently has DeMarco Farrell, are all in the playoffs. It's a pretty insane playoffs, not gonna lie. Anybody is gonna be watching that playoffs. Against the game versus USC, Kobe Helm ends up getting 4 tackles, all of them being solo, and that's pretty much the only stats he puts up. Looking at the Alabama and Notre Dame game, DeMarco Farrell ends up giving up no sacks but gets no pancakes as well. So I mean, I guess that's pretty solid. The Miami game, trying to see if Damon Long plays, and he is not playing still. So I just decided to simp through everything, and none of our guys made it. His final game of this regular season, DeMarco Farrell ends up giving up 2 sacks, so not the best. And I just realized I've been saying his name wrong the whole time. Kobe Helm gets drafted in the 4th round from Kentucky. Hell of a collegiate career. He has a 1-time freshman All-American, 1-time freshman All-SEC to his name, 1-time first team All-American, and 1-time first team All-SEC, as well as amassing over 100 solo tackles, 150 total tackles, and over 2 interceptions in his career. I'm sorry I didn't really get his final stats in the video, but I just added the pluses in there to make sure that it could be more, but that's at least what he has. So good for Kobe Helm. We now have 1 guy in the league. But looking at the coming up season, Damon Long, 85 overall, adds a badge to him, Press Pro. So now he's better at press. Looking at our quarterback Roderick Finley and seeing his situation, he is currently the starter at Mississippi State at 78 overall, so I feel like that's going to be exciting to watch. Looking at the defensive tackles, Bart Duggar at USC is like the 4th string right now, but he is pretty comparable in terms of overall with everybody else who's in front of him. First game of the season, Roderick Finley goes up against us, throws for 245 yards, a touchdown, and 16 for 19. So highly efficient, and he also runs for an extra 9 yards. So pretty good game by him, especially for a true freshman. So that's solid. At the end of this season, we see Miles Popek, 2030 Heisman winner, 3,200 yards, 38 touchdowns, 10 picks. I mean, pretty basic numbers. In terms of All-Americans, we don't have any non-freshmen making it to any All-American or All-Conference teams. But as you can see, we do have Roderick Finley making it to the first team All-Freshman SEC team. So I think that's a pretty good plus in my book. But nobody else is making any All-Freshman, All-Conference, All-American honors. So that's actually pretty surprising. In terms of the college football playoffs, we don't have any team except for Miami make it, and Damon Long didn't contribute at all. So we're pretty much on to the end of this season. Bart Duggar ended up being last in terms of rotation for some reason. I don't really know how that happens, but apparently it just happens. He gets pretty good, but not as well as his other peers. Quarterback Roderick Finley, still pretty good, still the starter, goes up a few overalls, not by a lot, but by a few. Damon Long is now the 2nd overall receiver on the depth chart, and he is now a guy to look out for on the Miami team. I think this is going to be a good year for him. In the end of the year, we have Titus Bisco, Damon Long's teammate actually winning the Heisman, which is crazy to me. And we don't have anybody making any freshmen. Oh, well, there aren't any freshmen left, but we don't have anybody making any All-American honors. Pretty much every single team made it to the playoffs except for Mississippi State. Miami had Damon Long go off for a monster game. 5 catches, 139 yards, and 2 touchdowns with a long of 61 yards. I mean, with a Heisman winner right across the field from you, I mean, look, bro, that's as best as you can do. He did have a drop, but I mean, who cares? He did crazy. DeMarco Farrell did have 2 sacks allowed, which is the most out of the entire team. And he did have a pancake, but I mean, the sacks, I mean, you know, Bart Duggar didn't really get much playing time and didn't record any stats. Looking at DeMarco Farrell in his career, his first year ended up allowing 0 sacks, but that's because he only had like 16 snaps or something. Obviously, as his playing time went up, his sacks allowed went up as well, went up pretty much every single year. But once you look at his snaps, I mean, the snaps just go up tremendously, and that's why he has the accolades that he has. Over 1,000 snaps in one of his junior seasons, and in this recent season had over 800 snaps. So I mean, he literally was just out there for hella long, even despite having a pretty good O-line at Alabama. Looking at Mississippi State, Roderick Finley is actually tied in pretty much the second string. So I looked at his stats previously and noticed that his stats pretty much cut in half, and I could pretty much chalk that up to him sharing snaps. Him and his backup or his first string, whoever you want to call him, he pretty much has the same exact stats as him. So they're essentially sharing snaps as 2 quarterbacks in their system. Looking at Damon Long's previous season, over 1,000 yards and 14 touchdowns. That's better than the Heisman winner that was his teammate. That's just insane to me. I don't know how he didn't win the Heisman, because he pretty much had better numbers all across the board. I mean, obviously he had more touchdowns, but for the most part, it's all right. Looking at DeMarco Farrell's career, I actually forgot to see if he made it to the league, but his stats do include a 1-time freshman All-American and 1-time freshman All-SEC. He has over 3,300 snaps in his career, and as well as 56 game appearances, and allowed a lot of sacks. It's all good. We'll just chalk it up to him being an undrafted free agent. At the start of the next year, Damon Long is the 3rd string wide receiver, so somehow he went down after the monster year that he had before. Roderick Finley beats out Bulaga for the starting job, and Duggar is still in the middle of the depth chart, so not really too much going on. Duggar ended up getting 3 tackles and a TFL and a sack in his game against us. So, I mean, not gonna lie, that's pretty impressive. Roderick Finley, he had 182 yards and 2 touchdowns against us, 16 for 26. Solid game, not too shabby. Also ran for 18 yards. And Damon Long also played against us, 2 catches, 34 yards with a long of 27. I mean, okay game. He didn't really get that many touches, so I can't really say anything. Max Hag, 2032 Heisman winner, 3,500 yards, 48 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's just, I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. I'm not gonna lie. That's just crazy. But looks like every receiver made it all conference except for Damon Long, and we don't have anybody making any teams at all. No All-Americans, no freshmen, no conference, no nothing. And we do have USC in the playoffs. Bart Duggar did his thing, had 2 tackles and a TFL in the playoffs. So, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. Miami made it as well with Damon Long having 36 catches. 36 yards. I mean, not really too much you can ask for, though. This year, he kind of slacked. 367 yards, not at all what he probably wanted. Looking at Roderick Finley's numbers, 2,700 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Up in pretty much every single category from his freshman year. And obviously last year he had to share snaps, so it doesn't really matter. Bart Duggar essentially has a better year in every single category except for sacks, though. Sacks, he definitely took a big hit, but has 2 deflections, pretty impressive. Beginning of the year, 254 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception for Roderick Finley. He also rushes for 51 yards. He is now at 86 overall, so he's starting to take big leaps. Bart Duggar in the beginning of the year has a tackle and a TFL. A TFL is pretty good, but that being his only stat, I mean, it's not really that good. A Heisman winner is George Thompson, wide receiver out of Washington. And looking at these end of season honors, I don't have any All-Americans or any All-Conferences left. And it turns out that not only did neither of them make any end of season honors, they also didn't even make the playoffs. So the glory for a championship ends blank for all the recruits. Mississippi State's Roger Finley ends with 2,200 yards, 25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Easily his best year, I would probably say, but didn't really get the job done in terms of getting any end of season honors or in terms of getting any national championships rings under his belt. So I feel like that's a little bit of a bummer on his career. Bart Duggar pretty much has the worst season he's had since his freshman year. He had promise during his 2031 and 2032 year, but pretty much after that it went downhill. Just to note that neither of them made the NFL, so that's kind of a bummer. But I mean, I did expect at least one of them to make it. Sucks that neither of them did, especially them being the number one recruit and the number one recruit in their position respectively. So I say that was the most surprising thing. But this is going to be the end of the video. We are now in the year 2033. Took basically a decade to sim all of this, so I appreciate y'all if y'all made it this far, man. This was a different kind of video. If y'all want to see more on this timeline, I can do more recruits on this timeline, or I can just make a whole different thing and I can do career resimulations. Y'all just let me know in the comment section, man. This was a lot of fun to just see how many of our guys actually got drafted and see how many of our guys really just got kicked off of teams after the first year or two. So that was pretty interesting to see. I feel like NCAA did a good job at trying to make it semi-realistic and having guys, you know, start from the bottom, try and climb their way to the top. Turns out well for some, turns out not so well for others. But again, comment down if y'all want to see anything specific, and I appreciate everything y'all do, man. Till next time, peace.